You didn't think I was done yet, did you? I'm doing this again, and I got a story to tell. So, on the table for a quick repaste job today is my faithful and beloved old G4 Power Macintosh running at an astounding 400 megahertz single core. This is definitely an old machine, um, but I have this. I'll never get rid of this machine. I'll always keep it with me because it's very special to me. I lived on this machine for a long time. Let's just say that I graduated high school at a time when the colored iMacs were still on the shelves and a reasonably new computer, right? Um, so a good amount of time had passed after high school that I lived on that iMac until a friend of mine, who was also a Mac guy, gave me this machine for free. And it was in somewhat good shape. The front panels were missing one of the slots and the other one had a small crack, and it was missing one of these handles on the back. Otherwise, not too bad. But this computer shop that I used to hang around at from time to time with him, the guy had some really busted up Macs that they were throwing out. I actually got the handles off of a mirrored drive door Mac and the faceplate off of a blue and white G3. And incorporated those into this Frankenstein of a machine here. But I am so fond of this machine, even though it's not a big badass. It's not, not something that even the Mac collectors really try to hunt down like they do the mirrored drive doors and Quicksilvers and whatnot. But this is my baby, and I love this machine, so I've always kept it with me. So it's due for the thermal repasting. I feel it's some maintenance I could perform since I just did my Quicksilver. Taking a look inside, of course, I added a solid state drive because I always do. Some additional cooling, which isn't really super necessary because this old G4, it's 400 megahertz, doesn't get super hot, but why not? Just a little extra luxury for my machine. Other than that, it's got a 4-port USB expansion card and the standard ATI card that came in it. Of course, maxed out the RAM. But today, we're going to get this done, and yeah. So, here we go. Let's get to work. All right, and a fun fact, something I think I've mentioned in one of my previous videos, is that I was definitely an OS 9 holdout. I hated OS X. I was so frustrated by the change of my childhood, essentially, because, System 7, 8, and 9, while some graphical changes occurred here and there throughout the GUI, the whole traditional Macintosh experience changed dramatically with OS X, and that made me very angry. So I was definitely hanging on to OS 9 forever, basically. Many, many years afterwards before I finally got to a point where I didn't have a choice. But yeah, this machine is just, we go way back, and I'm happy to do this for this today. So, let's see. To start with, I'm going to have to remove the memory card, I think, because I'm going to need the extra space to work. Yeah, the clips back here are going to be blocked. So this clip is going to be, it's really a tight space, and I don't need to do that to myself, so I'm just going to take the old ATI card off. Yeah, trying to get it into view. I don't have camera equipment, I said that before, so I'm just doing the best I can. Oh, a little bit of AGP powered goodness, I suppose. I don't believe this was the stock card. I think I've changed my card out a few times over the years, but wish I had the display port thing to hook up here, that way I could have a little better resolution. So, space to work in. Pretty much the same principle as my previous one. It's got those same exact metal clips that run across here that hook underneath the daughter card on both sides. So it's just a matter of peeling those out, prying those out, I should say. Should be a little easier this time, so I've got far more room to work with than I had with my Quicksilver. There's a little flathead here. Look how easy, this was way easier. Which, again, it comes down to one of the key tricks to being able to get the heatsink off of these in the first place is pressing down while you're pulling out. And we'll repeat the same for the back side, which, look at all the space. I can just slide this out. Lifting off slowly. Oh man, look at this thing. That's all it needed. It's still an unusual shape for a heatsink, don't you think? And there we are. That is, see if I can get it into focus here. That is a PowerPC G4 400 megahertz chip. Looks so clean, I question if it even had any thermal paste. Certainly is at the end of this. And I've taken care of this machine over the years. It's been, you know, it's been used some for just tinkering and kept in a closet. So it's remained reasonably clean. There she is. So, the usual suspects: Q-tips, a good high concentration of isopropyl alcohol. It's really all you want to use so you don't hurt the nickel that makes up the heatsink, and of course, that good old Arctic silver, which, as we know, is a conductive compound. There's also a non-conductive thermal paste, but I prefer Arctic silver's conductive nature. I believe it is superior for heat transfer. And while this chip can get kind of toasty, it's not near as bad as like the gigahertz range G4s, but guaranteed with the combination of some fresh paste and a clean heatsink and that fan back there, this machine will never get warm. It'll be nice and comfy, which is the least I can do for this beautiful old girl from all the years of service that she gave me. So I'm gonna hit the Q-tips and get to scrubbing. And as you can see, we have done some damage. So, as you've probably heard a million times, if you have any experience with this stuff at all, is it's very crucial, key, essential, etc., that you clean off the surfaces where thermal paste is going to go perfectly. They need to be spotless. So the surface of this die is perfect, and the base of the heatsink where the die will touch, where it'll make contact, has to be perfect. When you're cleaning these with Macs too, this black protectant crap around that's all over the bottom of it, you're safe to ignore. It's not really crucial as far as where the die makes contact, because the rest of the chip is actually sealed under this like plastic coating. It's a thick plastic coating of some sort, or at least maybe not plastic, some sort of a seal. So we're really not too worried about the chips underneath of there. They're well protected. But regardless, where all the heat transfer occurs is the die itself. So I took that area and then some. That's where the thermal paste will make its contact. There is going to be discoloration in the metal, and that's okay. It's just discoloration. You'll have that. But it is absolutely essential. You must, when you hit your Q-tip up with alcohol and clean the area, let me show you how I do this. Kind of ease that back a bit. When you are cleaning the surface, you'll dig and dig and dig, get out the black stuff and all that. But other than the discoloration, you must end up, your end result before you apply thermal paste should be a perfectly clean Q-tip. So we'll now move to the next step, actually doing it. Okay, I'm going to hold my phone while I do this so I can try to get a better angle than the one I had last time. Thermal paste spreads very quickly, and I mean very quickly. Once it's compressed with the dye, and then when it generates some heat, it'll spread some more. So really and truthfully, one thing about thermal pasting is it only takes a very little bit, a very tiny bit for an effective seal. And I use what's called the pea method, except even smaller in this case. About the size of a pea is how big your dab should be in the middle of the dye. So let me try to find what's comfortable here for me. Okay, now I'm going to actually do this. And you see how it's stringy? Gently raise up and down. Gently, gently, gently. Gently, until the string where your dab is breaks off. Because you don't want to smear this, it's conductive, you don't want to smear it around your board anywhere. And there we go. I kind of spread it out a little bit when I was pressing it, but it's really just this tiniest bit, and that's all it takes. So now we'll put the heatsink back on. Okay, so with the Mac and the daughter card there, you got your pins here, which kind of guarantee you to get perfect alignment. And then with my little, I don't like the way it looks on camera, it looks bigger than it is. It's really a thin, narrow dab. Anyways, so we will line up the holes. Right, I'm having a hard time holding my phone and doing that. Okay, once we are sitting back in place, then it's just a matter of reinstating the old clips to the daughter board. All right, we'll get those. One thing I wanted to try to show, if I can get the right angle, can you see inside there? This heat sink relies right on that center part where it makes contact with the die, and then it's huge. So, all right, so we'll pop that. They both have to face the same direction. Since like where the RAM is to my right, that's where the text printed on this goes. That's just kind of how I remember things. Now, because these being loose like this, I'm going to cheat. Something I couldn't do on the Quicksilver, and hook the first two hooks underneath on the left side. Now, on this side, I will push down and then slide it over just a bit. And you hear them click, just like that. We are good and secure. All right, so I would stop watching now if I were you. This is really just more for me. It's how I closed out my last video, and just for my own pleasure, I'm going to do this too, since I took the time to give this machine some well-deserved, tender, loving care. I at least want to see her come to life, just because why not? There was a time in the world when this machine was cutting edge. How crazy is that? never understood this. I always get this warning. It says a USB device is currently drawing too much power. The port it is attached to will be deactivated. I mean, my USB card that I threw in there causes that to happen, but it doesn't affect anything. I can use flash drives, my keyboard and mouse, which I have a good old-fashioned Pro mouse, and a Pro keyboard that I use for this. Never has any issues. But this is reasonably freshly wiped. It's been not too long ago that I had a PNY drive inside this and it pooped out. I have no idea why that drive quit working. I tried it in other machines and it was toast, so I bought a Samsung and did a fresh install of the Mac OS 9 Lives version, the top-notch version of 9.2.2. And there we be. So, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. See ya.